Hello, Dr. Ladies. You sell crackers.
G'day, you cheeky dogs. Today we're going to be breaking down the Bluey episode Early Baby. We are going to be talking about all of the Easter eggs, some of the hidden details, like the secret story, basically, that was also in it as well as the themes of bravery and the different types of bravery that there is.
G'day, cheeky dogs. My name's Margie and I'm an Australian currently living in America.
And yes, also, we're going to be talking about the fact that the most commonly asked question in this is this about Indy's sister or Indy's sister's baby? I will be going through all of that.
Indy wanted to play Early Baby, like her sister in real life. Bluey, can we pretend my baby is coming, but it's coming too early? Oh, okay.
But of course, if you love Bluey as much as we do here, don't forget to hit that like button down below, that subscribe button, and that bell for notifications so you know whenever I release any of the Bluey-themed videos. And with that being said, let's jump into Early Baby.
This episode in Bluey is called Early Baby.
So, first off, let's answer that question. How is this baby related to Indy? And thank goodness the Bluey website finally actually answered this question, because everyone on Reddit was constantly trying to figure it out because it grammatically just gave no answers, basically. But the Bluey website does specifically state that this is Indy's little sister, who was the premature baby. Of course, we've never seen her little sister, and we've also never seen her dad either. We just get a reference to him in the episode Mums and Dads. Maybe in a future episode we might be able to see this little sister as well as her dad. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about, of course, is the massive changes basically between the UK version and the Australia/Disney version of this. And it's not technically a massive censorship of any sort, it's just a color change. So in the Australia and Disney Plus versions of this, Bluey's hat has a red cross on it, and as well as their little hospital also has a red cross. However, in the BBC version, it is a purple cross instead. And that, of course, is because this is meant to represent the Red Cross, as in the medical charity, but because of legal reasons in the UK, they can't show it outside of its intended use, which is why it had to be switched to being purple. And then same thing for the toys as well. Initially they just had a sticker over it basically, and you could pull the sticker off and you could still see it was red. But the new toys now all have the cross as just plain white. So I guess you could always color it in whatever color you want to do it. But it is really interesting, I think, that was something that had to be changed. And I do wonder if perhaps Australia got away with it because they said that the Red Cross was meant to be a representation of St. George and the red cross that's on his shield, because St. George is the whole story that's happening on Rusty's side of the playroom, basically. So if you don't know, the story of St. George and the dragon is quite literally what they're playing out. So in the story, the townsfolk, of course, have to give a sacrifice to the dragon, which we see with Coco and Stickers and Rusty talking about.
Every day he'll come to take one villager to eat.
Go away, dragon.
And then in the St. George story, the princess then sacrifices herself to the dragon, just like we see in Bluey.
My mum says you're the fairy queen.
They chose the king's daughter. Oh no. I'm so upset.
But the king's daughter was very brave. She said to the king, "Goodbye, father. We both have to be the bravest we've ever been."
And then St. George is the knight who then goes and slays the dragon and saves the princess and is super brave.
But I will be the bravest I've ever been.
So it's always really cool when Bluey includes these references to very popular stories as well, and I think that's just something that's really neat.
And the brave knight won! And rescued the king's daughter. You're safe now.
But of course, that then does bring up the main theme of this episode, which is bravery, and also showing that bravery can be in many different forms, I guess is the best way of putting it. Because bravery doesn't mean that you have no fear. Bravery means that you have fear, but that you push through it to do what needs to be done.
Okay, I'll be the bravest I've ever been.
We both have to be the bravest we've ever been. I will be the bravest I've ever been.
Now, the first form of bravery, of course, is shown through motherhood, and specifically showing the NICU premature baby situation. And I think that this is absolutely incredible because it very much normalizes the idea of talking about different types of birthing stories, and especially the fact that premature babies, they do exist, and normalizing talking about them and what happens with them.
But we need to put her in it's like a fish tank with holes in it. Aha! What about this? Yes!
And of course, they show the bravery in the situation and the fact that it is very emotionally difficult to be in the situation and to have to leave your child for a few hours or even overnight or for days or months if they are born prematurely. And the fact that motherhood this part of it, you have to be so extremely brave to be able to deal with this situation. Now, the second form of bravery, of course, is shown in being self-sacrificing to others. And we see that through the princess, and the princess having to be the bravest she's ever been. Again, this form of bravery is being able to sacrifice your life or your needs for others and to do something that might be very difficult, but it will benefit a lot of other people. And I think that's a very interesting form of bravery, and I'm really glad that they showed that in this episode. The third form of bravery, of course, is the very traditional type of bravery with like a knight versus a dragon and sword and shield and fighting off a big threat or a big monster. Of course, we see that with Rusty and him having to be the bravest he's ever been to fight off this huge monster, which is stereotypically what we think of when we associate the word brave, I think. So I am glad that they showed like the stereotypical version of this, as well as other versions as well that can be seen through motherhood, as well as being self-sacrificing. Now, of course, whilst bravery is the main theme, we do also have a sub-theme in this episode as well, and that's the idea of being able to hear both sides of the story. And I think that this is a perfect way to show conflict resolution, especially with children, and Calypso, of course, facilitates this perfectly. She not only listens to the girl's side of the story because they initially are the ones who seem the most upset, but then she actually takes the time to also listen to Rusty's side of the story.
Before you all go, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Rusty, why were you looking for crutches?
Oh, well.
And because she does that, then all the children get to understand what's going on, and they all can come to their own conclusions of what they want to play, and everyone's happy. No one's angry or sad at anyone anymore for what's happened. They can all understand what was going on. So I think this is a really great way of, again, especially for parents and teachers, showing how they can resolve conflict between children, but also the importance of listening to both sides of the story to get the complete story as well. Now, as for some of the hidden details in this episode, one of them that I think is very cool is actually the weather. So we start off with seeing it raining, and then throughout the episode, as the conflict changes, we see the weather change to reflect this. So it starts off as being super rainy, and then as the conflict heightens, we see lightning outside of the window, and then at the very end, when they come to their resolution, we see the rainbow outside of the window as well. Another little like kind of detail that I thought was a very funny joke was, of course, Honey's flannel, and the fact that she's constantly wants to use the flannel all the time with Indy, and then finally at one point she does get to, and you see how much joy it brings her being able to wipe down Indy's forehead.
I got a wet flannel.
And the third little hidden detail is the fact that they really went to an extra effort with the animators, with Indy in particular, of showing what motherhood is like as like just these little details, because while Rusty is telling the story, Indy's still pretending to be a mum. Like she's swaying and she's rocking Polly and she's like patting her as well, which is what mums do. Like it's just like a natural instinct for us to do that all the time. And it was such a cool just little detail that they put in that they didn't really need to, but it just made it seem so much more believable that she was the mum. Now, of course, I do have to highlight some of, like, I think the best parts of this episode, which, of course, tends to be Rusty in this one because he's just such a great character and his voice actor did such a phenomenal job as well. So some of the little cute things, of course, was him mispronouncing words like hospitable.
I need to get to a hospital.
And then, of course, Rusty does have the classic line of, like, hello, Dr. Ladies, do you sell crutches? And that is such a funny joke. But also something as well that I want to point out is the fact that he called all of them doctors, which I think is really sweet, even though like they were technically like the nurse and the mum and the doctor. I don't know, it was just something really sweet, and again, kind of a focus, I guess, on the idea of like gender roles, which comes up a lot in this episode with them specifically, like the girls are playing doctors and hospitals and babies and mums, whereas the boys are playing like knights and dragons, and Coco, of course, is playing the princess specifically in that role, but at the end they all mix together and all play different things. So this comes up into play again in the next episode with mums and dads a lot, so I do think they were sort of like setting the stage for that here with the idea of thinking about stereotypical gender roles in children's play and how that can be different. There were, however, no traditional Easter eggs, no tennis balls, no long dogs in this episode, so I do feel like I have to take a point off for it. But I do also kind of have to add a point because this episode is what got a lot of parents into the show because they could relate so much with the idea of having a premature baby, and a lot of people on Reddit talked about how the episode made them cry, makes them tear up every time, whether they were a premature baby or they've had one themselves. So I feel like overall I have to give this episode 4.5 long dogs out of 5 just because of its relatability and how much it was able to connect with audiences, especially the older audience. But cheeky dogs, let me know in that comment section down below, how many long dogs would you give this episode out of 5, and what were your thoughts and feelings about the episode as well? While you're down there though, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe button, and that bell for notifications so you know whenever I release any other Bluey videos. But until then, I have picked you cheeky dogs out a few other videos that maybe you would like to watch, and I will see you all in another video. Mwah! Bye!